What's the next frontier when enterprise AI moves beyond prediction to true reasoning? You're listening to XTrawAI, where raw insight meets real impact. I'm your host, Raghu Banda, and today marks our highly anticipated Season 14 finale. Over the past months, we've taken a deep dive into how AI is reshaping industries, from reimagining brand foresight with Niche Fire to using AI as a decision-making partner with Subconscious AI, to exploring global AI infrastructure shifts, and even a playful yet strategic look at architect exam prep using AI agents. To close out this season, I'm joined by Yuval Belfer, VP of Strategy and Innovation at AI21 Labs. Together, we'll unpack what it means to build language models that reason, not just recall, titled Redefining Language Intelligence, AI21's Blueprint for Enterprise-Grade NLP. This episode goes beyond technical innovation to explore enterprise-scale deployment, ethical control, and how context becomes king in language AI. Let's get into it.
So Yuval, before these are some interesting questions I try to ask my guests. What is that general Gen AI myth you would like to debunk, if you had to?
So I think there's a lot of extreme ways to present the situation in the market according to the belief, right, or the agenda of the person who says that. Sometimes you see everybody's doing AI, everybody's adopting that, all companies have AI in their products. And sometimes you see stats that are, not like all companies are stuck in what we call experimentation loop, or all the companies are stuck in the POC stage, nothing really hits production. And the truth is, it's kind of in the middle. I would say probably more towards the experimentation phase, but nobody really knows. We have reports from like AWS, from Deloitte, from those consulting companies, which do say that something like 80% of the use cases are stuck in the POC and do not move forward. But I do think that, right, at least for just LLMs, we are in a really high adoption rate and a really good place. And yes, for more complex systems, it will still have some time, but it's not as bad as some people say, and it's not as good as some people say. Probably somewhere in the middle, like everything else.
Great answer. One other question I have. If you could solve one enterprise use case with AI tomorrow, what would that be and why would that be?
Probably I would do I know this is something that probably everybody thinks about, and it's not that hard right now to do it, the annual review. Writer, now I did do it with language models. Don't tell my boss. Obviously, I just used one of the language models to write it. But it will be nice to have it with single click and not that I will have to do it in several things. It's not that interesting of a use case. It's just something that I don't think anybody really wants to do.
Welcome back to our XTrawAI podcast series. And today we are going to discuss a very interesting topic, redefining intelligence or language intelligence with AI21 Labs. So I'm your host, Raghu Banda, and today I have with me Yuval Belfer, who works at the intersection of product, engineering, algorithms, and business development at AI21 Labs. He works on everything from customization and evaluation to enterprise-grade deployment. Outside of his work, he also lectures on applied generative AI and teaches how to turn models into working systems. Welcome on board, Yuval.
Hey, thank you so much. It's a great pleasure to be here. Maybe I'll briefly introduce myself. So I'm actually in this business for over 3.5 years. I really started at AI21 roughly when there were only two LLM providers in the market. There was GPT-3 and there was Jurassic 1 by AI21. So I really got a front row seat to this NLP revolution from really the times that we had to chase around clients and ask them to hear about what language models can do for them, all the way to today where clients coming to us and ask us to use our language models to change the way they're using products. So it's really been an amazing ride here.
Beautiful, beautiful. I think it's amazing to know that you're in one of the very front row seats and one of the early players in the LLM space. Interesting to know that. I would like to get a bit more. We'll go a bit more into the topic a bit later. But before getting kickstarted into the conversation, I would like to understand your role or like your journey, your personal or professional journey that made you that made you come here. I think a brief background about yourself.
So my bachelor's degree is in electrical engineering. I finished and then I started working as actually a hardware developer. I worked on chips, on hardware that right now are really the core for enabler for essentially all the machine learning algorithms that are possible. So I worked at AWS for almost 4 years, and I realized that though this is important, it's just not the right fit for me. And I went to pursue my master's in computer science and machine learning. And somewhere along the way, I understood that AI is the thing that interests me the most. And really all those neural networks, deep learning. I did a lot of work on vision, actually, during my master's. And then when I finished my degree, a friend of mine told me about a cool company that he just started working, AI21. They had at that time, one of the first, if not the first, GenAI based application called WordTune. It's a paraphrasing tool that was enable you essentially just write whatever you want, and it will offer you some paraphrasing, like other ways to say like your words but better. So I actually used that tool to write my CV.
Wow.
And yeah, that was like how AI found me a job that I worked at AI for that. And they also just released Jurassic 1, which is a competitor for GPT-3. And it really blew my mind. Like I didn't know what prompt engineering is. It was, I think, maybe one or two blogs about that at that time. So I had to really work along a lot of time to understand what it is, how to use it, what to do. And from them, I'm here, really worked, I got a lot of journey, I think, at AI21 because we really started at a time where nobody knew what LLMs are.
True.
Nobody knew how to work with them. So for a company which is PLG focused, we thought that will just be adoption of developers like GPT-3 was in the beginning to sales-led or business-led product. Now we're really going hard on enterprises, but still I work a lot with developers, a lot with the technical people that want to know more about our products, know how to use them well, how to integrate that into their systems.
Beautiful. I think that's a great piece of background I think that you have given. I think when you told me the aha moment about even landing your job through the tool, I think that's a great way of putting it across. And you're in the very, very early stages of how these technologies were evolving at that time. Can you share? I know you already shared me that kind of a moment, but where did that trigger you to realize the transformative power of this language-based AI, maybe in the context of AI21, the AI21
So it was
Labs?
really during the homework assignment that I got for my role, which again, at that time, there were only base models, not even instruct models, right? So you had to do everything few shot learning, and there was not a lot of examples. Nobody really knew what it is. And I had to, they just gave it to me and say, build something with it. And I built something like a tweet generator, which seems very simple today. We don't even need to do anything. But for me, it blew my mind. The fact that I just changed the prompt a little bit and got like very weird results. Right? I was very surprised at every time, like the creativity of those models. It really blew my mind. And I think the second one was really to see the ChatGPT disruption that I really remember, like the day that it came out, and we sat in the office and I was like, oh, that's nice. They built a tool to collect data. That's so nice for them. And it exploded, right? In 5 days, they reached 1 million users. And all of a sudden, we got a lot of emails, a lot of inquiries on, okay, you also have language models, help us build, like we want to hear about your products. So really, the ChatGPT disruption was a big help for everybody. They just did the market education in a very scalable way. Now everybody wants AI, right? So I think those are the two moments that I realized that I'm in the right space, in the right time. That's great.
Beautiful, beautiful. That's some great learning or great transformation potential of how these technologies can help you where we are and how these things are happening. I think I've been following AI21 Labs. I know AI21 Labs has positioned itself as a serious contender in this enterprise-grade natural language processing. I would like to go one step behind and understand what's the core vision behind the AI21's approach to language models and APIs. So for the audience, I think could you kind of take us one step behind and explain that?
Sure. So we started as a research lab from 2017. We're in the market for a long time, 8 years, according to the time that we are filming today. And really, there was just a lot of researchers in the beginning, tried a lot of things. They published some papers, and that was the entire idea. When OpenAI announced on GPT-3, they're like, oh, that's a really good direction. We should try to do something similar, but open, something that like it will be not open weights, but open for everybody to use. At that time, GPT-3 was in closed beta. We can only get it from like LinkedIn or Twitter posts of people who got access. And that was the core value of to try to innovate at all times and be like a research lab and really try to do the things that only like the giants with a lot of compute can do. And we really took it to the next level when last year we released Jamba, which is a new series of language models, where we kind of said, let's face it, right? We cannot compete with OpenAI or Anthropic or Google in large transformers. Right? They have the manpower, they have the resources, they have the compute, they have the money. Then you see their quality is unmatched. But we can go to a slightly different approach and think about how we design the next language models in a different architecture that will empower other things. And this is where we took Mamba architecture and combined it with the transformer architecture. Essentially created a hybrid architecture, which we call Jamba, joint attention and Mamba. And these are models that, on one hand, on a lot of use cases, are actually comparable with transformers architecture. They are good just as much, but are much faster and consume less memory. So this is really something for the enterprise. It's faster. It will take you less money, essentially, to serve it. And it's different. It's innovative. This is still something which is in our core. And you can see that really a lot of companies follow suit, including NVIDIA. A lot of companies right now are exploring the alternatives for just transformers, combining it with Mamba in one way or another. And somewhere roughly a year ago, when all the AI agents kicked in, we understood that everybody, I think, in the market right now knows that it's not enough to use just a language model. Right. And this is where you do want some sort of a system. And we really want to streamline the process of taking complex AI systems and implement it into the enterprise, the data, the workflows. And that's where we really focus right now on how to do it in the best way possible.
Beautiful, beautiful. So this is where, unlike the other Gen AI providers, uh, you guys focus, or AI21 focuses more on modular and controllable language models. Why do you believe this is going to be mattering much in this context of large language models, whether it is, and of course, you said that you're focusing more on these enterprise grade landscapes and other things. How do you think this can change the way things work faster for the enterprise customers or the enterprises as such?
Oh, I think there's a lot of misconceptions right now in the market where an agent can do everything, or like it's a one agent, one size fits all, or you have to, like last year it was, you have to do fine tuning on everything. There's always like the new hotness that everybody wants to do. A few months ago it was RAG, but really a lot of the problems with adoption comes to the fact that every data is different, every organization is different, and there's a lot of challenges, some in the product and some in the human part. And when you really allow everybody to understand what happens with transparency and to be as modular as possible, you can use whatever models you want, you can use only this part from our end, or you can use the entire system. It really allows for more smoother integration. It allows you to build trust. And these are all things that we see that organizations are fighting with. And that's hard, right? So really taking it to like, give it either the full solution for those who want to, or like just pieces and bits. We found that this is something that really works, along with working together with the teams there. These are, I think, the main things that we are focusing right now as business part of the company.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, getting a bit more into deeper into these innovations that AI21 Labs is focusing on, doing, I think, from your Jamba models to the new planning and orchestration tools. Like, what do you think some of these innovations excite you the most at AI21?
Sorry, I didn't hear the last question.
Yeah, so what I mean to say is that I know there is you've been progressed from the Mamba models, from the Jamba models to the new architecture or the new planning and orchestration. But what are some of those innovations that excited you the most, and how you are using them in the context of these enterprise grade natural language processing?
So these two are actually two different product lines. We really try to distinguish between them because you don't have to use both in order to succeed.
Okay.
What is really special and nice with our Jumbo models is, first of all, the fact that they are comparable in quality, but still faster for long context, especially, where this is something we really see today, that you have a lot of requirements, you have a lot of data that you want to use in the model. And when you do use RAG, sometimes you lose things during the retrieval process. So putting everything in one context, in one call for a model, can actually vastly improve the efficiency of the entire system to do that. And also, our Jumbo models are on Hugging Face, so everybody can take them. You can privately deploy them, either by yourself or using with the help of our team, which is really a great enabler for healthcare, finance, a lot of those industries that are really sensitive for their data. So this is one thing that we're really focusing at the foundation models part of things. And for the planning and orchestration system, which we call Maestro, this is, I think, it's really exciting because it's kind of like the start of a new era, or it's a different product line. It's kind of the same area as agents or orchestrators and so on, but it comes to say to really streamline the process, because it is something that takes a very complex query on one hand. It can also take a simple query, and we'll divide the plan according to this query and some budget constraints, limitations that you will provide it. And so if your query is very, very simple, it can just maybe do a plan with a single step and solve this. And if your plan is very complex, if your task is very complex, something that requires a lot of steps, a lot of data sources, a lot of tools, it will build a plan. And then with the smart execution engine that comes with it, it understands, are these steps parallel? Can I execute them in parallel, or should I do it sequentially? Are there dependencies? Should I use a very strong model for this, or something which is, not as strong but much cheaper, faster? And it all depends on the budget restrictions that you provide to the system. And really, this, on one hand, really streamlines the entire process because you don't have to work that hard to implement something that general on one hand, but you also have full visibility to it. So you know why everything happened, what happened, and you can really control how much money you spend or how fast is it. Because, it's this triangle of quality and cost and speed, and you really can't have it all most of the time. And I think this is what really excites me, is the fact that really aiming high here. We're saying, okay, like existing agents, these are cool, these are nice, this will solve a lot of things, but they either require you to really work hard to adjust them every single time, or it's something that is not actually an agent. It's something that it will just work in the same workflow, or you're just letting it go rogue and hope something will come out. So this is really the direction that I'm excited the most of.
Beautiful, beautiful. It's great that you have clarified these two different things that are happening there. And also, of course, you have clarified how you are addressing the quality, cost, and speed aspect. I'd like to take one step back and understand what are those challenges enterprises are facing in this while adopting, I think in this context of generative AI, and while adopting these large language models today. Because there are, like you mentioned, you guys have started almost at the same time as OpenAI, but I think now you've seen a lot more players in the space. And of course, enterprises are trying to adapt these different generative AI large language models, and then for their business purpose or for streamlining how it can kind of embed in their processes. What are those challenges that enterprises are facing in adapting these?
So there's actually a lot of challenges, and it really depends on what angle are you looking for. If you're looking at the regular technical challenges, like regular, because I think everybody's talking about it. These are stochastic models, right? They're randomized. You cannot fully control on anything they're doing. So you have to put some guardrails, you have to put some pre-processing, you have to really ensure that it will work in the way that you want it to work. And if your scale is big enough, sometimes it will go rogue and you have no idea why most of the time. And that's it's not easy to implement those kind of things. It's, every product now has a quick start, and there's my first drug notebook and all those kind of things, but nothing is really 5 lines of code. And if it is 5 lines of code, there's probably a lot of work going beyond that you just don't know what it is. You can't control on that, and you have no idea what just happened most of the time. But even before that, there's a lot of issues with the way that management are approaching those things. One of the first things that I've witnessed, I think, in the last year and a half, and somehow it's still there, is the hype of the expectations of what you can actually do with those models. This is something we call here a ChatGPT syndrome, because in a lot of cases, you talk with a prospect and they say, I want ChatGPT for my organizational data. I want ChatGPT for my here and this and that and so on. But ChatGPT, you're much more tolerant with all mistakes that happens when you are using it to find a recipe or to write your LinkedIn post or whatever. Because, oh, made a mistake, no worries, I'll just run it again. I'm reading this, I can understand, I can see it, that's nice. When it's in your organizational data and one mistake can cost you millions of dollars, you're not as tolerant.
Right.
So the expectations here are really kind of an issue, which is really connected to what we like to call FOMO as a strategy. Because it really seems that way, that there's a lot of companies that somehow just decide that they want Gen AI in their product. And good luck, like do something. I have a lot of friends in other companies here, not even AI companies, just software developers, writes to me like, "Oh, I got a task to implement RAG in our system. I seen that you work on something similar. Can you explain to me in 5 minutes what it means and what should I do?" First of all, no, I cannot do it in 5 minutes if you want to do it well. But it really seems weird if the person who's implementing this doesn't really know why they're doing RAG.
Right.
What is the motivation here, or why are you trying to solve even? So that's a really big issue. So it's from the planning and the strategy side, and obviously the technical side aspects as well. So there's a lot of challenges, and it seems that every time people are focusing either on like, all right, it's not reliable enough, or you have to have a strategy. It's all of it and much more.
So I would like to, yeah, thanks for taking through that and explaining the issues that are the enterprises are facing when adapting generative AI and these large language models is happening. Another interesting aspect or another interesting thing which keeps happening or which it keep being asked is about the role of data privacy or explainability and customization, which is shaping up this whole adaptation of generative AI. How do you think this would affect in large organizations? And maybe a few thoughts if you can share how these things are shaping up.
Yeah, so these are all other problems that like very big problems that I didn't even mention.
Right.
As you can see, the problems just keep piling up here. Where yes, data privacy, especially in this era where data is the biggest IP, the best collaborations right now that happens are not because those models are the strongest, but because you have the best data to work with. So data privacy is indeed an issue, and for the big companies like OpenAI and Anthropic, if you pay enough money, they will probably ship it in a private way for you. But not all enterprises can afford those type of fees for those giants. And really, the future is it's not even the future, it's right now. We're seeing a lot of requests for private deployment of just taking language models and deploy them yourself. And if those models are in open weights, and this company has a team that can take this model and just integrate it, that's great. And like we're all for it. But a lot of those companies don't have the team that has necessarily the expertise to do that. And there are a lot of companies, we like us included, but we're not the only ones who do that, really offer that as part of the solutions to really come and integrate this like private deployment or ship it into your own organization. You can also work with data providers, right? Data cloud providers. Most of the companies right now have cloud. You have Amazon, you have Google, you have Azure, where if you're using it through them, you also have some sort of compliance to your data. So it's really, you really want to work with, and we do work with all of them as partners. You can take our models from every type of cloud. And really privacy is, we're seeing how it really stops a lot of deals from happening. And sometimes it's not just privacy from us. Sometimes it's even inside the company where the company is so big and not all teams wants to like share things between them. So that's kind of an issue there that the world is trying to to solve, but still there's not everybody trusts when you promise something unless they see it in their own servers. So that's probably where everything will go soon, hopefully. Other things you said about is explainability and customization. So explainability, that's an issue, right? Because these are large language models, just really big neural networks. And like my thesis was on not explainability per se, but it was on theory of these type of networks. And there is not a lot of it. Like you have some theorems and you try to prove them, and then you do experiments to show that what you proved is right. But it's really like this is a field where experimentation, like this is experimental science. You do a lot of experiments with networks, you get some sort of results, and then afterwards, maybe a few years later, you find some sort of explanation. Even when you do some probing to see, in vision, they do it a lot. They're looking at the layers between them and you can see, oh, here this layer recognizes edges and so on and so on. And in large language models, it's not even close, I think, for actually understanding. So what you can do is when you have a system and you can try to really just say what happened. You can't really know why, but you know at every stage, whenever you do have some sort of observability, what action did the agent took in this case? Did it call a tool? Did it go to RAG? Did it go to web search? You can try to understand why. That's the hard part because it will never tell you why. Because even if you will ask it, why did you do it? How can you trust the answer? Still a model doesn't really know. It's all a lot of statistics and weights in between. So observability, it's more correct than explainability because you can't really know why, but you have to observe, and when it's not working according to what you expect, then you have to test, and the debug is the worst. But still, and customization, that's I think kind of like the question. Right, last year everybody talked about I have data, let's fine tune, which is the way to customize. But now when large language model became so powerful and so capable, like, do you need to customize to your data? And like the answer is usually yes, just not the model, but the entire system. And that's not something which is easy to do.
Beautiful. Thanks for clarifying all these things and explaining in detail how things are happening in this space where the large language models are being leveraged by the enterprise grade companies or enterprise grade large systems. Can you walk us through an example where AI21 successfully helped a client? We don't need to go into the names of the clients to keep the things confidential or only publicly shareable information. But maybe take a realistic example and how AI21 helped solve this problem with the client.
Yeah, sure. So I can tell you about maybe even two clients. And really, I think that one of this really exemplify our approach of working with the teams. We're not really believe in working like in a silo here and just ship it to a client. And we also like you can use our models if you want, and that's okay and that's fine. But we do believe that the best work happens when we combine forces. And really, a good example for that is a global retailer that we worked with. And what we did is we started with characterizing the use case and scoped it to really understand what we can do and what is the best solution. Right. And in this case, they have a very large marketplace where they sell products, but they also have other vendors who can sell products. and their descriptions and all the details, they believe that they have gold standard, but the other vendors are not really, right? They don't have the same standard maybe, or they don't invest a lot of the time in it. They just give you the some sort of a description. Sometimes it's good. Most of the time, it's not very good. And there we really worked with them. There was a lot of scoping and understanding what to do because, we really tempted to say, let's build the entire thing from the beginning, but it doesn't really work like this. And there was a lot of issues. For instance, they gave us some data and they say, everything here is golden. And we trained something with it. And when we validated it, we found out that it's not as good. And then we looked at the data and say, well, but you said that this is a good description, and you're saying that something which is very similar to that is not. And so they said, oh, now they understand as well that what they're bringing us as gold standard has to actually be a gold standard. So I really worked with them to understand what do you need to do here? What's the first step we can do in order to, build trust, to see that these models can work, and really build with them a system at the first step that really takes every description that an outside external vendor provides and tests if it's good, does it meet the standard? And by the way, to see if it meets what is a standard, we have a linguistics team here that sat with them, the product experts, to find out how can you define something like this. It's not trivial at all. And then if this description is is in the gold standard, great, you can upload it. If not, it will just generate something which has the same details, but in the gold standard. Okay, so really no hallucinations there. You really have to be grounded to the actual attributes of every product. But you can really take this, and this sounds simple. It's not as simple as you think to implement this at scale. Okay, and this is something in their production system right now. They're really using it to actually really amplify the entire process, and it doesn't take all that time that it used to take them to do those things. We also have an example for another client. Well, we briefly talked about their it's a university, an online university, and they wanted to offer a tutor that is 24/7 available. Let's say a chatbot for personalized for the user for the course. And they came with like a lot of ideas and a lot of things that they wanted to do, and they tried to implement it with Frog, and they tried to build an agent or something like that. And we spoke with them. We understood what's happened there. Say, okay, for the first step, that what you're actually trying to build right now, it's not as complicated as you think. If you will just ask the user like 2 or 3 questions in the beginning, you can actually do most of the things in a single call with long context instead of like doing a lot of RAG and adding more latency to the system. And we did like a very quick pilot with them on that. This is now in production, and they're now signed for 30 more use cases to really take their online services to the next level. So we really believe that working with the client they're the ones who have to use it. They're the one who validate it. They're the ones who know like if it's good or not. And we're here to help them really take advantages of everything generative AI can do for you. So this is where we believe the technology can really shine.
Beautiful, beautiful. And thanks for laying out these 2 different examples and the use cases, the real-time use cases that you have been working with the clients and helping us understand how things are, how you have implemented. So looking forward, how do you see AI21 is evolving in terms of the platform capabilities? Or I know there's a lot happening with these agent-based interactions, and there's a lot of buzz around agents and AI agents or integrations with these different enterprise tools that are out there. So what are your thoughts about what do you look forward into AI21?
So I think that, and really you got it right in that there's a lot of companies. I just came back from a conference where all of the, it seems that all or most of the booths that were like AI agents for the enterprise, frameworks for AI agents. There's a lot of those. And this is what everybody is looking for right now. And what I think that like our grand vision, or the thing that I kind of referenced this in the beginning, but our grand vision, or the thing that excites me the most, is that what we're aiming to do is an agent that will really go into your organization, to your environment, and will give itself some sort of a ramp up. And every onboarding is hard, right? For a new employee, for a new product, this is something that takes a while to do and something which is hard. And even if you think about organizations, some organizations have all their data on Slack, some Confluence, some have it on Google Drive, and some have it on PDFs. There's a lot of formats. You're not really sure which tools do you need to use or what to do. This results in not a very optimal way for the agent to behave. There's also kind of like a weird circle there where what happens is that you connect an agent, and most agents or most workflows even have some sort of a validation component inside of them. This validation is another LLM mostly that says, is it good? Is it bad? These are some sort of guidelines. But if this is onboarding, you can think about it as like a person who does a task and then have to grade itself. Which is weird. Right? And this is kind of like, how do we expect this agent to work well if it doesn't really know what happens? And the grand vision is to really have something that will connect to your organizational data, get access to all the tools, everything, get some examples of some queries or some questions that it might ask. And then we'll just go on to do its own onboarding, like offline process, where it will create a lot of simulations. It will continuously improve during that time. And then after that time, we will essentially get like an onboard agent, where it will learn from these simulations and from feedback on those simulations from the models, but also from some of the humans in the process. And then it will just, be connected to your system. So it will handle queries much better. And it will also do it faster because it will now know for this type of query, this is the tool that I need, or this is where I need to look for the information. So kind of like customizable agents, this is where we're going. It's much harder than it looks. I don't think we'll be there in the upcoming year, but we are starting small. We are releasing few components each time, and we're getting feedback, and we're really working on improving those kind of things.
Beautiful. I think now thanks for taking us through that. Now let's come to the most interesting question of our podcast. I termed this the extra AI question, the $1 million or the $1 billion question. I know there's a lot of competition out there. I think you have stressed it out enough in the conversation too, that you're working with your clients and with the customers. But what is that, the differentiation factor, or maybe that uniqueness, what AI21 can solve for the enterprises or for the customers? Because the competition is out there. You have different models coming in from the big vendors too. Because I know when you guys started, it was only ChatGPT, but then a lot of these big players come in there. Any uniqueness or any differentiation factor that you would like to position?
Yes, so we really believe that we're working for what the enterprise needs. And these are kind of like two things that I will say where they're essentially the same thing. Where the first one is the private deployment part, the understanding that organizations need private AI. And for that, we have our models, which are, again, in open weights. The license is not as strict. Like, I think that a lot of companies can actually use them even without contacting us if they want to. And we'll be just very happy to know that those models are adopted. But really the customizable part, working with our clients to ensure that what they're doing is good. I think this is the main differentiator here because, right, we cannot beat OpenAI or Anthropic in their own game, but we're not even playing on the same field, I think, right now, because Maestro, the thing there that is unique, the IP, I would say, is the planning and execution engine. And this is something that you can connect whatever LLMs you want for that. We're essentially enhancing every LLM or enhancing every system, and we treat LLMs as tools. So you can use our models, but you can also use Claude, you can also use GPT, you can use whatever model you want. Like, we're not saying use us instead of them. You're saying, let's build the best thing you can do, even if some of the parts in the process are with our, who used to be our direct competitors. Right now, they're not, because we are leveraging them as well.
Beautiful. I think I completely echo with your thoughts here, Yuval, because now the world has, there's a lot more collaboration happening. That's what I see in this space. Many of the players are going there together because this is where I think the focus areas are a little different and how you can solve the bigger problems. So coming from this, as someone leading the AI strategy at one of the respected AI firms like AI21 Labs, what are those trends that excite you most the next 2-3 years, or maybe the next 3 to 5 years? What do you foresee?
So I'm not sure if, like, to talk about what happens in 3 years, because who will know what happened in a month? I think that the thing that excites me the most in the last 2 years is to really see the full cycle, that full hype cycle that LLMs have gone through. If we're talking about 2 years ago, where in a lot of conversations, there was a lot of, I want the AI will go into my data, and then the AI will give the answer, and then the AI will do this. To, right, we've gone through the hype, and then there's a lot of talk about LLMs can do math, LLMs can do this, LLMs can do that. And now we're in the plateau stage, I think, of LLMs. This is really the point where people really understand that there are limitations. Like, everybody wants to use LLMs. A lot of people actually do incorporate them in some way. Like, everybody uses ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini. But there's a lot of companies who implemented the use of LLMs somehow in their product, whether it's internally or externally. And it's really exciting to see this full circle. Of course, now we have the new hype, right? AI agents, and who knows what it will be next year. But for me, it was really exciting. It's kind of something that usually takes years and years and years. And this is, in 2 years, we just got the full cycle of that. And I think it's really a sign that the market is maturing, and there's always some sort of market education that happens, but it seems that, at least for now, like, LLMs and generative AI are in a very good place expectation-wise, at least LLMs. I would say that now agents are in the hype, but for LLMs, it was really fun to see that.
Beautiful, beautiful. I completely echo your thoughts here. I would definitely term this as exciting times ahead. We are definitely in some interesting times, and I'm pretty sure a lot more exciting times ahead. What is that thing that you would want to advise the leaders or the enterprise leaders who are navigating this play of reality versus hype when we talk about generative AI? Any advice?
So I think there are a few. First of all, understand, calibrate your expectation. Don't go to the ChatGPT syndrome. Right? Really understand what this can do for you. Also, stray away from FOMO as a strategy. Use a strategy. See not where you can put AI because it makes sense, but see where it actually will give you more value. And also, I would say if you're management, what we've seen that works the best is that you just, instead of put one person or one engineering team to be in charge of that, what is best thing to do is to build a multidisciplinary team that goes across multiple departments, because deploying something to production is not a one man's job. And this is something that we found that really works well when you have a lot of people representing a lot of things. And also talk to your clients. If these are employees that are supposed to use this tool, or if these are clients outside, this is something which is like PM 101, but still, like you have to satisfy someone. You're not just building it for yourself. So understand what will make them happy and build it for them.
Beautiful. So thanks for your time. I think where can our audience learn more about AI21 Labs or try your products? A quick, could you give us a quick shout out about that?
Yeah, so we have our website where we have a playground as well, where you can play with their models. You can also download our models from Hugging Face, the open source ones. We have the blog page and some other interesting documentation if you want to learn more about the products. And also a bit of a shamelessly plug, but still I have a podcast for developers. It's called YAP, initials for Yet Another AI Podcast, where I interview a lot of people from AI21, a lot of like technical professionals, but also from outside. And this is something that really deep dive into technology. If you're into that, I'll give you a link for everything.
Beautiful, and glad and thanks to letting us know about the YAP podcast. I'll definitely follow that myself, and as well, I'll shout out to my audience as well. Glad and thanks having you on board about this conversation, even in between your move from one location to the other location, your office move location. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
That was a brilliant conversation with Yuval Belfer. What a fitting capstone for season 14 of XTrawAI. We've journeyed from hands-on innovation and global AI power plays to the mind-expanding possibilities of subconscious AI, strategic architecture prep, and brand foresight through AI. Thank you to all our amazing guests and to you, our listeners, for tuning in and staying curious. Season 14 showed us that enterprise AI is evolving from concept to strategic necessity, shaping how organizations think, decide, and act. But don't hit pause just yet. Season 15 kicks off next week. We're gearing up for an even deeper dive into multi-agent ecosystems, enterprise co-pilots, and real-world AI economics. Expect stories that bring AI theory into sharp, actionable focus. I'm Raghu Banda, and this is XTrawAI, where we keep pushing the boundaries and bringing you along for the ride. Until next time, stay curious, stay responsible, and as always, happy predicting the future with AI technologies.